I've heard from a lot of people that they are interested in horse camping, maybe not full-time like we are, but at least like going out on the weekends, taking your horse out on the trail, staying at campgrounds. And so I thought I would walk you through the essentials of what you need to horse camp, whether you're doing it just over a weekend or you are doing it long-term. I want to start with the horse essentials first, and I've tried to make this to where this is universal. Whether you're just traveling for a short amount of time or a long period, you need these things. First things first, you need a way to contain your horse. So many horse campgrounds will have like stalls or corrals or even high lines. Some don't, so that's just something you're going to need to research before you go somewhere. So we have a few different options. We have all the options just because we've run into many different situations. We have a temporary tape fence here, and this just allows the horses to stretch their legs and walk about. Electric tape is pretty cheap, and then with our pack, we got like 25 of the sticks and the posts. And so we can just throw up a paddock anywhere we want. The one downside to this is it's just not a good visual barrier for the horses or for the humans to make us feel like the horses are secure. It can flap in the wind. If the horses are like startled enough or they get galloping around, they could easily run through it. But for the most part, this has done really well containing our horses. We're staying at a family member's house right now, and so it was just something easy to throw up so that they could get grass and be able to move around if they wanted to. If you don't want to do a temporary fence, one solution I highly recommend are these electric portable panels. So I'll show you all, like they have an electric tape that is run in 3 strands. And so the PVC gives a good visual barrier, but then the electric tape kind of solidifies them against the horses. These have been really, really nice. If we are camping primitively somewhere, we always put these up and put the horses in them at night just to secure them a little better, or if we have to leave and go somewhere. Now, if you're just weekend camping, I don't think you need both of these things. I think you can choose one or the other. These are a bit more expensive. We got 2 sets, and I think there was 6 or 8 panels per set, and total it was $1,200. So each set was $600. These are from Affordable Portable Products. You can attach them with these little stretchy zip tie things, and they also come with battery powered fence chargers that have been amazing, and we actually use those fence chargers on our temporary fence. So many people wonder how we do power the fences. It's called a SpeedRite fence charger. It's battery powered, and they are really good. We've really enjoyed them. You know, you have a grounding rod that you hook to, or you can like hook it to the base of these things. But they have done really well, and the battery powered ones make it so easy. Because if you go and you see like the solar powered fence chargers, they're like that big. And so these things are really nice and compact, easy to store. The only thing I will mention about this is, especially when you get a larger fence going like we have around the perimeter, the shock just won't be as strong. My horses are pretty good with like a low shock even, but you really just have to get your grounding right and have like a smaller area for these to work really well. But I still think they're great, and I would highly recommend them. The cheapest way to secure your horse is gonna be with a high line, and you can buy a high line kit for maybe like $90, where you just get a rope, you get some metal clips that you can put the horses on. They're super easy to throw up. The one downside to them is they don't really give you the visual barrier of, oh, my horse is secure. And you also will need to train your horse how to stand on the high line, because they just need to get used to giving to that pressure when it pulls back on them. But that is definitely the cheapest way you'll be able to contain your horse. It's also much quicker to set up a high line than it is to set up this whole thing. Like this took us maybe an hour or so, and those portable panels take a lot more. Highline maybe takes you like 15 minutes. For feeding your horses, you're gonna need hay bags. I've learned that horses will poop in their hay, they'll pee on the hay, do all of that. So I try not to put it on the ground if I don't have to. I'll do it if I have to, but otherwise, hay is always going in a hay bag. I have quite a few different hay bags. I highly recommend slow feeder hay bags that just have like these smaller holes for the horses to get the hay out of. It just makes them regulate themselves a little more, and it makes them like have mental stimulation throughout the day to eat their hay. So these things are awesome, and I would highly recommend them. You're also gonna need buckets, and you can never have too many buckets when it comes to horse camping. You probably aren't gonna need one this big, but we give this to Ruach specifically because Ruach will dump over small buckets. So he needs a big bucket, so he won't dump it over. He also drinks like an elephant. I highly recommend having like a 7 to 10 gallon water bucket. These plastic buckets are also great because they can double for like doing dishes or, you know, cleaning and washing things. And so there's just a wide array of buckets you could get. I always recommend bringing like an extra or two than you think you're gonna need. Now you can't bring like a full-size wheelbarrow usually, just because storing that and finding the space for it just doesn't work. So I highly recommend getting like a small bucket. I found this on Amazon, I think, and it's for like gardening and stuff, but it has worked really well for picking up manure. You will be responsible for cleaning your horse's areas usually at campgrounds, and so you are going to need something like this, but I've been really pleased with this little thing. You'll want a hose. So we have a 100-foot hose just because it makes carrying water so much more easy, and usually at a campground there will be a spigot in one spot and you may have to like carry water over, and so having a nice long hose can make that really easy on you. And we've also used this for other things having to do with like our RV and camper. You'll want to bring some extra halters too. So when my horses are out in their temporary fence, he is not happy because he wants to eat. But I have them in breakaway halters that have the leather strap, Ruach, have the leather strap around their ears. And that way, if they get their foot in it or something, it will break off of them. But if they were to get out, having a halter on makes it a lot easier to catch a horse. So we use the breakaway halters for things like that, or tying them up on a high line would be the ideal time to use them. Before you go trail riding and horse camping, I highly recommend either putting shoes on your horse or finding like temporary shoes for your horse. These are scoop boots and they're trail boots. You just put them on your horse's feet. This is the best brand I've found that actually like stay on and won't get pulled off. The other brands, they just slip off your horse so easily, but these I've ridden through the mud, I've ridden through water. These aren't coming off. And the reason for that is a lot of trails have varied footing, and if your horse is barefoot, you never know what you're really going to come across on the trail. And so it's better to be prepared than for your horse to be uncomfortable or for you to not be able to do the trail ride. So I do scoop boots, but a lot of people shoe their horses, have their horses shod. And you're still going to want to bring like the seasonal things that your horse needs, like fly masks, or if it's cold, you know, you want to do a winter blanket. With fly masks, I love having these, not only to put on my horse if they're like out in the little pen and there's flies out, but also on trail rides I'll put fly masks on my horses because it just makes it so much more enjoyable for them to not be like constantly going like that all the time. This is actually probably the better kind for trail riding just because they're a little easier to see out of. They grip to the horse's head. And then I also put these on in the trailer so I can have my windows down and the grates up. Just in case like a rock were to fly through the window, it protects the horse's face and eyes. Next little thing you're gonna want is this thing, and my phone number's on it, so I'm gonna try and hide some of my phone number. This is an ankle bracelet we have made for the horses, so if we go out trail riding or they're out and they could potentially escape out of the electric fence or something, we put these on. That way if someone ever finds our horses, they can give us a call. These are custom made, so you can't find these online, but I mean you could secure them a number of different places. People have commented about like braiding an air tag into the horse's mane, which could be a good idea. There's a few different ways you could get that information out to where you can find your horse. The next thing you are going to want is a tarp, and a tarp has a few different uses when camping. That is not one of them. So anyway, tarps are great. Number one, if you are sleeping in a tent, you're always going to want to put a tarp under the tent so that like the morning dew does not come through the bottom of your tent and make you wet. We've also used this to cover hay bales. Like sometimes it's easier to take out the hay bales and put them closer to our horses, and then we'll just cover them with this little tarp to keep them dry. And so there are many different uses for a tarp. I highly recommend having one on hand. When it comes to horse camping, you are also always going to want to have like medical supplies on hand. And I've already found, since we've been doing this, we have used some, even not like the gauze and bloody situations, but even just like Rock got a scratch in his eye one day. And so like having the clear eyes where you can flush their eye out so you can kind of see what's going on. Vet wrap. You can also get like nitrile latex gloves, and I've just been putting like a poultice on Tucker sometimes because if he's in a stall too long his legs will stock up. So just having these things on hand. Hydrogen peroxide for wound care if they get scratches. You know, Desitin is great if your horse gets sunburned or they start getting a rash or have fungus or bacteria. Have Desitin. So have that stockpile of medical supplies. so that when you need it, it's there. This is our adopted cat that has been living near our trailer since we've gotten here. The cutest little cat in the world. It sleeps on our step to the door in the trailer. But anyway, the last thing you're gonna wanna need for your horses is like food storage. So for us, since we do this full time, our grain bags are stored in our trailer. But if you're just doing this over the weekend, I think it'd be really easy to like Ziploc bag up your horse's meals. And that way you can easily store them. You can just pull it out and give it to them. You don't have to take your whole grain bag in your whole tack room. And then of course you're always gonna wanna bring hay, because at most campgrounds your horses aren't gonna have access to pasture or grass. So you are gonna need to supplement that for them. It's important to know how much hay your horse eats a day and needs to sustain. So my guys are small little 13-hand horses. They can get by on a bale a day, but like bigger horses are gonna need more probably. So you're gonna want to always bring extra. So I've covered the horse essentials. Now I wanna cover the human essentials. You also have your comfort you have to deal with as well, because camping can be a big adjustment compared to like normal life. First and foremost, you can never have too many bungee cords. You're gonna wanna get a lot of these, or like a tub of them, because you will use them for a bunch of different stuff. So just have these on hand. Having lanterns or a headlamp is also great. We didn't first initially realize that we would need those things, but after, living a month on the road, we were like, you know what, we need a good lantern. So we have a few lanterns that just make it easy to like check on the horses at night or go to the bathroom. You can get a headlamp. We also have one of those. This is essential for primitive camping. Maybe if you have electric and hookups, you don't need this, but if you're primitive camping, lanterns are a game changer. Once again, if you're primitive camping, another thing that can be very, very useful is this thing called a Jackery. So this is like a power box. This comes with solar panels to charge it up, or you can plug it into an outlet and charge it, and it charges a lot faster. This thing is hardcore. You can use it to charge your phone, a computer, a lantern, anything. And it stores a lot of power, and so it does a lot of work. This thing has been a necessity for us because we work online, and so when we have been primitive camping and we don't have hookups or anything, we've had to use this thing for our power. When it comes to camping with horses, you also need to figure out where you're going to sleep at night. So you may be sleeping in a tent, you may have a horse trailer that has a sleeping quarters, or that may have like one of the gooseneck areas you can put a mattress up in, or the campground may have cabins you can stay in. So you need to choose your pick. I would recommend, if you're staying in a tent, do not just think you can lay on the ground and be comfortable, because after about age 10, I've learned that the ground is not comfortable anymore. So you're gonna want a cushion or a cot or something you can sleep on in a tent. One thing I recommend getting, whether you're staying in a horse trailer or a tent, is a portable stove. And this thing runs on propane or butane. It's easy to like take outside and you can cook, and it just makes life a whole lot simpler. It's much easier than cooking over a fire. We've used this a lot. So this is one thing that I would recommend getting if you plan on camping in any capacity with your horses. Regardless of where you're staying, you are going to need storage for your food. So we have our living quarters. We can easily store food in cabinets and do all that. But if you're in a tent, you're going to need a way to keep the food away from the animals. So they make like bear-proof bags. You can also put it in a cooler and keep it in your truck or in your trailer and different things like that. So you'll want to research that. Next, you can never have too many garbage bags. So garbage bags come in handy, number one, for throwing away your trash. Number two, for storing things. So you can put your dirty laundry in a garbage bag to take home. You can put extra blankets in a garbage bag. There are so many things you can do with garbage bags, and I feel like we never have enough of these. So I would recommend actually getting a box of garbage bags, not just bringing like one or two. This is what we call our shower bag, and you are gonna want one of these as well. So most campgrounds will have like a shower house if you're staying at a private campground, where you can go and take a shower, brush your teeth, do all of that. Being able to put your towel in here. We have our shampoo and conditioner and just other toiletries that you may need for the shower house. And also make sure you bring like flip-flops or something to wear in the showers. If where you're staying doesn't have a shower house, I highly recommend investing in some baby wipes. These are the alternative. You know, Colin has gone 10 days without showering before, as we have all seen previously. You can use these every morning to wipe in the areas that tend to get stinky and things like that. And so baby wipes are amazing. I use them to clean my face at night if we don't have water and stuff. The best way to pack light when horse camping is to wear layers. So first layer, you can always start off with one of our Etsy shirts. We have a ton of them. I'll have some cute or funny designs that you can check out. I will put the link in the description. We do have Christmas coming up, so they make great Christmas gifts. And we have a shirt for every type of horse rider out there. So be sure to check that out. But when it comes to clothing, you're going to want the essentials. And it really depends on the weather you're riding in. If you're riding in the colder months, you're gonna want a good base layer of mock clothing or Under Armour. Having like a pullover and a jacket you can put on. Also, always bring a raincoat because you never know when rain is gonna show up. And I find that having a raincoat is very useful. You'll also find that there are always gonna be certain tools you will have on you from now on when it comes to horse camping. One is a knife. This is just my pocket knife that I have. It's easy to cut bales with or open sawdust bags or anything like that. And so I have one that clips on that I really like, and I would recommend getting one of these. Just a Swiss Army knife or even like a pair of wire cutters from when you're on the trail. All of those are super useful. Other things you're gonna need is you're gonna wanna have an adapter for everything. So this is a hose adapter. We have electrical outlet adapters for whether we're plugging into a 30 amp or a 50 amp or just anything like that. Research the type of adapters you may need because I can guarantee you if you're doing this a lot, you're gonna need it at some point. Another very essential part to life, not just camping, is having water. And so we have found that this thing is super useful. I think this is like a 48-gallon tank. It sits in the back of our truck. Not only do we use it for getting water for the horses, because not every campground will have water, and that's why you have to research. Or if they do and it's really far away, we'll load this up and bring it to our campsite. But this can also be useful, like you can wash your hair under it. You can bring it to the end of your truck and you can stick your head under it. So it has a nozzle on one end. We just found for storage, it's best to store it this way. And then this is another thing that's kind of similar, just smaller. You can put water in here, and then this lid you can pull off and it has a little nozzle where it can come out. So we found primitive camping, like we'll fill this up with water, we'll brush our teeth, use it to wet our toothbrushes, and do all of that. So having these things are very useful. This is useful for carrying water for the horses. This is useful for getting water to the horses. And just like with the horses, we also have a human medical kit inside. We actually have a drawer of just medical supplies. And we also don't forget like medications, allergies, because Colin gets some bad allergies. We have like some painkillers in there. We have salves for poison ivy. Just think about normal things you may run into camping and make sure you prepare for that as well. Sunscreen, aloe, all of that stuff. You can never have too much bug spray, so that's another thing that's in our medical kit. We always make sure we are stocked up on bug spray and fly spray for the horses. Now, I have given you the list of supplies you will need if this is something you are going to do frequently and often. I think that if you were just going out for your first camping trip and you just wanted to see how it went, you don't need all of this stuff. There's no reason to buy all of this stuff for your first time camping, but just watch this video and make notes about the things that you think you will need just to survive for like 1 or 2 days your first time camping. And remember, we do have our Etsy shirts out if you're looking for some fun riding shirts for the trails, and I will be sure to put the link in the description, and there's something for everyone there.